Want to use a PGR in your cereals but have no time for a separate pass? Manipulator PGR can be applied as early as one tiller. Just add it to your herbicide to reduce lodging, increase harvest efficiency, and maximize yields. Talk to your retailer for more info and to confirm acceptable tank mixes.
Joining me now to talk about what we might expect in some of the equipment sales world this coming year, is Lee Anderson. He's a senior analyst with Farm Credit Canada. Welcome here, Lee.
Thank you, Lindsay. My pleasure to talk about our outlook for the harvest equipment for 2024.
It is not the greatest outlook, Lee. I'll be honest. If you're someone who's selling harvest equipment, so perhaps unsurprisingly, and we're going to talk maybe about why. But for the most part, this report really does put harvest equipment sales, especially down below the trend line. Catch us up on some of the latest numbers.
Absolutely. So I just think maybe to step back is, the last several years have been kind of that opposite, but even coming out of the pandemic, we saw, very some strong sales, but also supply chain issues, unavailability of equipment. And we did see that on the combine side as well, where
Mhm.
the new combines weren't arriving in time or guys couldn't get them, so they were, going to the used market, overhauling their existing ones to make them last longer. Fast forward now till where we are today, new combines are rolling in, trades are happening, and now we're starting to see, kind of a buildup of used inventory.
Okay.
So some of this isn't necessarily too surprising, but we are seeing, yes, a little bit of a softening of the harvest equipment market going into 2024 as well.
Now, combines, as you mentioned, combines are a big part of that, obviously, but we are
Yes.
talking, harvest related equipment, so headers and those sorts of things as well. Does the same hold true? The same sort of dynamics, or are they somewhat different for harvest equipment?
For overall, yes, that kind of a similar trend there as well on the headers and the grain carts that we are seeing, a slowdown on those as well. They're kind of, we called it the complementary pieces of equipment because
Right.
of course combine is the big one. But yes, we are seeing some slowdown in sales there. Now
Mm.
on top of that is also, especially in Western Canada, that drought that happened, you know,
Yeah.
last year, and then of course on our radar for this year is will that um, also lead to some softer sales? If you're expecting a big bumper crop, sometimes that's where you go out and replace that grain cart because you got a big crop coming or a bigger header. So I think that did play into um, the softness as well that we saw
Hmm.
that is occurring.
Now, of course, we've also got, I mean, these are large capital purchases. We've also got a climb in interest rates in the last little while, and we've got a softening on the crop prices side. How has that impacted or played in, or and are we still to see maybe just how much of an impact that has going forward?
Yeah, it's definitely been on the minds of producers. Even the last year, producers really that we talked to have been having a big focus on equipment cost per acre. So they're really watching, equipment prices have jumped up. Of course, interest rates climbing have really changed their per acre payment or just their overall cost to the farm. So really focusing on that and being a bit cautious on some of that investments that they were doing. And like you mentioned, crop prices coming down from those peaks that we saw in 2022 and coming down in 2023, definitely playing a role in uh, producers' decisions to replace equipment.
Now, I mean, most producers, especially, I mean, we're talking sort of broadacre grain producers that are, you know, trying to plan for some of these larger purchases over time. How does, this convergence of higher interest rates, lower crop prices, some of the supply chain issues, how have how do we see that sort of working into the plans for some of these farmers? Because the opposite to this is, if you're in a strong balance sheet position, this could be an opportunity potentially if it means that equipment prices go down. But is that necessarily what we're talking about?
Y- Absolutely, that's what we're talking about. So that's where we kind of finished our outlook on that note, which is still good news for dealers and anyone in the equipment industry, and that opportunity for producers. As inventory builds, they have more options, and then they can really find the piece that works best for for their farm, right? That helps them find those efficiencies and reduces those per acre costs. So I think that's the kind of the silver lining that, there is still um, an opportunity here and for producers and the industry to, where the sector is going, it's softening, but it's still going to be a pretty good overall market going forward. And
And so,
especially for those that are investing for kind of that long term view, right? So
yeah. Well, and I think about as well in talking to some farmers who have perhaps been challenged to find the pieces of equipment they've wanted. More inventory means you may actually be able to find the pieces that you've been looking for.
exactly. Before maybe they delayed a purchase or they ended up with one that it worked, but wasn't the one they wanted. So now they can go and do that trade and get the one that will work the best for their operation. And
Hmm.
we had mentioned earlier, you had mentioned that strong balance sheets. That is really we're seeing maybe some potential lean profit years for 2024, especially in Western Canada with drought looming and commodity prices coming down. But those strong balance sheets are really setting us up to get through a lean year and still make those equipment purchases that are necessary.
Hmm. Now, there was one in your report. There's one bright spot as far as what is trending, perhaps a bit stronger, and that's the four-wheel drive tractor market. What's happening there?
So what's happening there? They did see some, delays in deliveries the last few years from supply chains, but also that complementary piece for seeding is we did see some delivery delays, and the market's still staying strong for air drills. But go fast forward to where we are today in Canadian ag, we use these tractors as well for at harvest time, and we're still forecasting, sales will be, relatively strong for four-wheel drive tractors for 2024. So that is the good news. We do see this maybe tapering off into by the end of the year and probably as we head into 2025. So we'll
Okay.
see where actuals come in, but we are projecting it to stay strong for this year.
Okay. Just as we wrap up here, there is and we'll link to the to the actual report in the post if you want to go through it. But there is a pretty telling graph there on the combine sales on the 5-year average. I mean, the 2024 is starting out really low behind that average. So, like, how low is it? Give us some numbers on that one.
Yeah, so it is trending below the 5-year average in the last several years. This is all, kind of preliminary. We get some data from Iron Solutions, which on the used market, and
Hmm.
then it'll depend if some of those um, sales were delayed. But it also has, I think, it points to direction of where we could see, the auction market season that's going to be starting up now. What can we expect? I think we can expect it to be a little bit softer going into there, and then depending what weather brings for crop production.
Hmm. Some timely rain might change a lot of outlooks for several areas.
Exactly. Like other years, it always comes down to those in-season rains.
Yeah. Well, we'll know in about a month from now,
We
or we'll
will.
have a better idea. All right. Lee, thank you so much for joining me here. I really appreciate it. And we will, of course, link to the report with Farm Credit Canada in the post as well. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. My pleasure.